All right, diving in today, folks, we're heading straight to the heart of Sufism.
That mystical branch of Islam, yeah.
You got it. Focusing on that direct, personal experience of the divine.
Exactly. Feeling it, not just thinking about it.
Right. And to guide us, we have, the big names. Rumi.
Rumi, the poet.
Yeah, the poet, illuminated by his connection with, his spiritual companion.
Shams of Tabrizi, powerful duo.
Absolutely. And we're not skimming the surface here. We're going deep into a specific set of their wisdom.
Rules 28 through 40. Buckle up.
Yeah, 13 rules. And for you, the listener, the learner, we know you want to understand these big ideas.
Quickly but deeply.
Yeah, efficiently. And these rules, they're like keys.
Unlocking deeper spiritual understanding.
The nature of reality, even.
Oh, yeah. And the power of love. Big stuff.
Huge. All within, of course, the framework of Sufism.
Can't forget the context.
Exactly. And we're not going to do a dry, boring analysis.
And textbooks here.
We want to unpack these rules so you really feel them.
Get those aha moments.
Right. So you can see your own experiences and questions in a new light.
Fresh perspective is everything.
It really is. And it's important to remember this is a source that says these are writings of the heart.
Not just intellectual, but from experience.
So we got to listen with open hearts.
That's the key.
Let's jump into Rule 28, which kind of throws us a curveball right away. It says, the past is an interpretation. Okay.
Interesting.
The future is an illusion.
All right, getting deep already.
The world does not move through time as if it were a straight line, proceeding from the past to the future.
Whoa.
Instead, time moves through and within us in endless spirals.
Endless spirals.
Eternity does not mean infinite time.
No, wait a minute.
But simply timelessness.
Okay, my mind's bending a little.
Right. If you want to experience eternal illumination, put the past and future out of your mind and remain within the present moment. That's a lot to unpack.
It really challenges how we usually think about time, doesn't it?
It does. We're conditioned to think of life as linear, A to B to C.
Past, present, future. But the Sufi view, it's saying something way more dynamic.
Happening inside us.
Exactly. Time isn't this external river we're floating down. It's a dimension we experience within ourselves.
In cycles.
In those spirals.
So think about how much time you spend, replaying old conversations in your head.
Or worrying about that meeting next week.
Exactly. And Shams is saying those mental loops, they're not even real the way we think they are.
Freedom from that mental timeline, that's touching eternity right now.
So if the past is just how we choose to remember it,
and the future hasn't happened yet,
then where does that leave us?
Right here, right now, in the present. That's where the focus shifts.
And if eternity isn't some endless future, but this moment fully experienced,
then being present becomes the key, the gateway to that illumination.
Think about how much anxiety comes from dwelling on the past.
Or fretting about the future.
This rule, it's like an invitation to let go of all that.
Freedom, right here, right now.
Now, Rule 29 jumps into another big question. Destiny and free will.
Two sides of the same coin, maybe?
Maybe. It says, destiny doesn't mean your life has been strictly predetermined.
Okay, so there's wiggle room.
Right. Therefore, to leave everything to fate and to not actively contribute to the music of the universe is a sign of sheer ignorance.
Can't just sit back and let things happen.
The music of the world is all-pervading, and it is composed of 40 different levels.
40 levels, huh?
Your destiny is the level where you play your tune.
Ah. Interesting.
You might not change your instrument, but how well to play is entirely in your hands. I love that musical analogy.
It's so beautifully illustrative. It captures that Sufi balance.
Between what we can and can't control.
Exactly. There's this acknowledgement of a larger cosmic order, this music of the world.
With all its layers and complexity.
Yeah, like different realms or stages of being, it's vast.
And our nature, our talents, our challenges, that's our instrument.
The one we're given, we can't swap it out.
But we get to decide how to play it.
The quality of our contribution to this grand symphony,
that's our free will in action.
It's not about passive resignation to fate. It's active engagement within our circumstances.
So acknowledging the currents of destiny, but also our power to navigate them.
Exactly. Making conscious choices, shaping our experience. For you, the learner, it's about being proactive.
Knowing there's a bigger design, but your actions matter.
Your intentions too.
Uh-huh.
And the responsibility to learn to play your tune beautifully.
Now, Rule 30 takes a turn. It's about how to respond to negativity. It says, the true Sufi is such that even when he is unjustly accused, attacked, and condemned from all sides,
Oh, wow.
he patiently endures, uttering not a single bad word about any of his critics.
That takes strength.
A Sufi never apportions blame. How can there be opponents or rivals or even others when there is no self in the first place? How can there be anyone to blame when there is only one?
That's a high bar to clear. Talk about spiritual maturity.
It is. It gets into this idea of the ego or the nafs dissolving.
Essential to Sufi psychology, that journey of purification.
If you truly understand the interconnectedness of everything, this oneness,
The only one.
then that individual self that feels attacked,
And wants to fight back.
it becomes less important, less solid.
Almost fades away.
So as you let go of that separate, vulnerable self,
The urge to retaliate just disappears.
it becomes less about personal attacks and more about like the bigger picture.
Seeing everything as part of a larger unfolding,
Without the ego needing to defend itself,
the blame game ends.
Mhm.
You just accept.
a profound kind of acceptance, but in a world full of conflict.
Yeah. Criticism flying everywhere.
To live with that kind of patience and understanding.
It's a challenge, but a powerful path to inner peace. And, this letting go of blame in Rule 30,
It connects with Rule 31, which is about softening our own hearts.
turning inward.
It says, if you want to strengthen your faith, you will need to soften inside.
Interesting. Softening, not hardening.
Right. For your faith to be rock solid, your heart needs to be as soft as a feather.
A beautiful image.
Through illness, accident, loss, or fright, one way or another, we are all faced with incidents that teach us how to become less selfish and judgmental,
Life throws curveballs.
and more compassionate and generous. Yet some of us learn the lesson and manage to become milder, while some others end up becoming even harsher than before.
It's like a fork in the road.
It is. Hardship, it can break you or make you.
It acts as a catalyst, spiritually tests our resilience,
Strips away those illusions of control.
shows us how vulnerable we are. And the Sufi view is, this is where growth happens.
You break down the ego, you cultivate empathy.
A soft heart. It's more receptive to faith, more attuned to the suffering of others.
And ultimately more connected to the divine.
It's not about punishment, but about opportunities to grow, to become more compassionate.
So those tough times, they're invitations to become softer, to become more understanding, more generous.
Think about your own life.
Have you leaned into softening or hardening?
It's a conscious choice.
Yeah.
We can cultivate that softer heart,
Now, Rule 30 is really direct about our connection with the divine.
cutting through the noise.
It says, nothing should stand between you and God.
Wow, powerful statement.
No imams, priests, rabbis, or any other custodians of moral or religious leadership.
No intermediaries.
Not spiritual masters and not even your faith. Believe in your values and your rules, but never lord them over others.
A warning against dogma.
If you keep breaking other people's hearts, whatever religious duty you perform is no good.
Actions speak louder than words.
Stay away from all sorts of worship, for they will blur your vision. Let God and only God be your guide. Learn the truth, my friend, but be careful not to make a fetish out of your truths. Individual spiritual autonomy, front and center.
Emphasizing that direct relationship with the divine.
While guidance can be helpful, the truest connection is personal.
It's a warning against blind adherence to authority or even our own beliefs
Right, because they can become tools of judgment.
and division.
It's saying that inner understanding, direct experience, those should be our primary lens.
Not just accepting what we're told.
Because rigid dogma without that inner understanding
It can actually obscure the truth.
and making a fetish out of our truths,
That's a powerful phrase.
it is a reminder to be humble, to prioritize love and compassion above all else.
For the learner who values different perspectives
This rule, it's about critical thinking.
and personal exploration of faith.
Rule 33 throws a bit of a paradox at us. It says, while everyone in this world strives to get somewhere and become someone only to leave it all behind after death,
We're all striving, aren't we?
you aim for the highest stage of nothingness.
Nothingness. Now that's intriguing.
Live this life as light and empty as the number 0.
Light and empty. Interesting juxtaposition.
We are no different from a pot. It is not the decorations outside, but the emptiness inside that holds us straight.
Like a vessel.
Just like that, it is not what we aspire to achieve, but the consciousness of nothingness that keeps us going. Aiming for nothingness for a meaningful life.
It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But there's a profound truth there.
It's about letting go.
freedom from ego and attachment.
That's the path to inner peace.
The nothingness here refers to fauna, that annihilation of the ego.
Not ceasing to exist, but emptying ourselves of all that ego baggage.
The desires, the self-importance, all those things clouding our connection to the divine.
And that image of the pot.
The empty space is what makes it functional.
So it's the emptiness of ego that makes space for the divine presence.
To be filled with something greater.
So by letting go of all those ego-driven ambitions
And attachments.
we find a deeper purpose.
And a more lasting fulfillment.
Because those external things, they're temporary.
The decorations on the pot.
But that inner emptiness, that receptivity to the divine,
That's where true fulfillment comes from.
and it's that consciousness of nothingness, that freedom from striving,
That gives us a deeper, more sustainable motivation.
more inner peace than chasing external validation ever could.
It's a different kind of power.
Rule 34 talks about exactly that. Power.
But not the kind we usually think of.
It says submission does not mean being weak or passive. It leads to neither fatalism nor capitulation, just the opposite.
Interesting twist.
Real power resides in submission, a power that comes within.
Inner power.
Those who submit to the divine essence of life will live in unperturbed tranquility and peace. Even the whole full world goes through turbulence after turbulence.
Even in chaos, there's peace.
It challenges how we view strength.
Big time.
So how do we apply this submission, not asserting ourselves at all?
That's not what it's saying. It's about aligning our will with something bigger.
With that divine essence of life.
Exactly. It's a surrender, but not to another person.
Not to circumstances.
It's a conscious choice.
And it actually links to a different kind of strength.
Resilience. Unshakable tranquility.
You're trusting in a larger order.
And finding freedom in that surrender.
Staying centered amidst the chaos.
Letting go of the need to control everything.
And that's how you tap into that deeper power.
The kind that brings true inner peace.
Rule 35 gets into the complexities we all have inside. It says, in this world, it is not similarities or regularities that take us a step forward, but blunt opposites.
Opposites attract, huh?
And all the opposites in the universe are present within each and every one of us.
We contain multitudes.
Therefore, the believer needs to meet the unbeliever residing within, and the non-believer should get to know the silent faithful in him.
Facing our own internal contradictions.
Until the day one reaches the stage of insane I Camille, the perfect human being, faith is a gradual process and one that necessitates its seeming opposite, disbelief.
We're walking contradictions.
We are. It's part of being human. And this rule, it's saying those opposing forces, they're not external enemies.
They're inside us.
And the journey of faith, it's not a straight line. It's dynamic.
Full of challenges.
It involves acknowledging our doubts, that inner unbeliever.
So, wrestling with doubt.
It's not a weakness.
It's part of strengthening our faith. It's through that internal dialogue, that back and forth.
The believer recognizing their doubt, the non-believer seeing their yearning for meaning.
That's how we become whole.
How we move towards that perfect human being.
It's a beautiful process. It encourages self-reflection.
And a more compassionate understanding of ourselves and others.
We all have those complexities.
Rule 36 brings up this idea of cosmic justice.
Karma.
It says, this world is erected upon the principle of reciprocity.
What goes around comes around.
Exactly. Neither a drop of kindness nor a speck of evil will remain unreciprocated.
Balance in the universe.
Forget the plots, deceptions, or tricks of other people. If somebody is setting a trap, remember, so is God. He is the biggest plotter.
God is the biggest plotter. That's a strong image.
It is. Not even a leaf stirs outside God's knowledge. Simply and wholeheartedly believe in that. Whatever God does, he does it beautifully.
Trusting in a higher plan, even when things seem unfair.
It's about the interconnectedness of actions and consequences.
Divine justice.
And yeah, that phrase, biggest plotter, it might sound harsh.
But it's emphasizing that nothing happens outside of the divine will.
God's knowledge is absolute.
Even things intended to harm can serve a larger purpose.
We might not understand it now, but it's all part of the plan.
So when we face negativity, injustice,
This rule is saying trust.
trust in a bigger benevolent order,
Instead of getting caught up in anger and resentment,
and wanting revenge,
we're invited to have faith in that principle of reciprocity.
and in the beauty of God's actions.
Even if we don't see the whole picture.
It's a source of solace.
Rule 37 talks about timing. Divine timing.
Everything in its right place.
It says, God is a meticulous clockmaker, So precise is his order that everything on earth happens in its own time, neither a minute late nor a minute early.
Not a second off.
And for everyone without exception, the clock works accurately. For each, there is a time to love and a time to die. There's a rhythm to it all.
A divinely orchestrated rhythm. It's about accepting those natural rhythms.
The ebb and flow of life.
Everything unfolds in a perfect time, even if we don't understand it.
From huge cosmic events to those small personal moments.
All perfectly timed. It encourages patience.
And trust in the process.
Whether we're in times of joy, growth, or loss.
But in our world, everything is go, go, go. Instant gratification.
This idea of divine timing, it goes against the grain.
It really does. It's like an invitation to let go of that anxiety.
Of forcing things to happen on our timeline.
And instead, to trust.
In God's perfect timing.
It's a calming reminder to surrender to a larger flow.
Especially in our busy lives.
Rule 38 is a call to action, to personal transformation.
To keep evolving.
It says, it is never too late to ask yourself, am I ready to change the life I am living? Am I ready to change within?
Always room for growth.
Even if a single day in your life is the same as the day before, it surely is a pity. At every moment and with each new breath, one should be renewed and renewed again.
Constant renewal.
There is only one way to be born into a new life. To die before death. That idea keeps coming up. Dying before death.
It's about letting go. Shedding those old layers.
The beliefs, the habits that don't serve us anymore.
It's ego death. That process of letting go of our limited sense of self.
And for identities, those old patterns, past hurts.
Making space for something more authentic, more connected to the divine.
It's saying spiritual growth has to be continuous.
Otherwise, we become stagnant.
And every breath.
It's a chance for renewal.
So we have to shed those old ways of being.
And embrace the possibility of transformation.
Like every single moment.
That's how we die before death.
Rule 39 looks at change and continuity from a wider angle. It says, while the parts change, the whole always remains the same.
The big picture.
For every thief who departs this world, a new one is born, and every decent person who passes away is replaced by a new one.
A constant cycle.
In this way, not only does nothing remain the same, but also nothing ever really changes. For every Sufi who dies, another is born somewhere.
Change and stability, both at once. It's highlighting the cyclical nature of life.
And how everything is connected.
Individual forms, personalities, they're in flux.
Always changing.
But the essence of existence, it stays the same.
There's a constant flow.
The old makes way for the new. But the underlying reality remains.
Like a river, it's always flowing, even though the water is always changing.
Perfect analogy. It helps us understand those individual, fleeting experiences.
Within a bigger, timeless reality.
When one thing departs, another arrives.
It's that dance of creation and dissolution.
Always happening.
And finally, Rule 40. This feels like the heart of it all.
The culmination.
It says, a life without love is of no account. Don't ask yourself what kind of love you should seek, spiritual or material, divine or mundane, Eastern or Western.
No labels.
Divisions only lead to more divisions. Love has no labels, no definitions. It is what it is, pure and simple. Love is the water of life. And a lover is a soul of fire. The universe turns differently when fire loves water.
Love as the driving force. Not just an aspect of life, but the very essence.
It's the unifying force.
It goes beyond categories and distinctions.
It's just pure love. Simple.
And it's the source of everything. The water of life.
And the lover, filled with that love.
They become a transformative force.
Fire-loving water. That image is so powerful.
It's alchemy, the union of opposites.
It shows how love can break down barriers.
And create something entirely new. Beautiful.
It's a reminder of how essential love is.
In every part of our lives.
And its power to transform.
Within us and in the world around us.
So we've explored these 13 rules from Shams.
Deeply.
And we've touched on so much. Time, destiny, free will.
Ego, hardship, the divine.
Nothingness, submission, inner complexities, cosmic justice, divine timing, renewal.
The ever-changing nature of existence.
And love. All of it woven together.
A tapestry of wisdom.
It's all pointing towards a more authentic, more loving way of being.
And a deeper connection with the divine.
So, listener, with all this in mind.
The present moment. The power of love.
What one small shift can you make today? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Sufism.
It's been a journey,